Welcome to Colorado Soul Stories, showcasing changemakers and creatives, past and present, who have helped to make Colorado not just a pretty place to behold, but a soulful place to be. I'm your host, Mama Jill, longtime Colorado resident, former teacher, and freelance journalist. Let's get started with our next episode.
Help those that need the most. Support our brothers and sisters, and tomorrow we will toast. We will toast today's disaster, and we'll be very clear. We are surrounded by this water, but our friends are still here. We're all pulling together up on top like a boat, and if one thing's for sure, it is hope that always floats. My home, your home, it ain't gonna take away our home. My home, your home, it ain't gonna take away our home.
Hi, and welcome back to Colorado Soul Stories. I've been on the road in the southern Colorado mountains, and I'm here in beautiful Westcliffe, Colorado, meeting my friend Andy Mast, who is a amazing artist, and his gallery is here at 3rd and Main in Westcliffe. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jill.
I'm glad to catch you. We're going to just start off with your journey to becoming an artist.
Okay. Well, I was born within an Amish community, and I grew up in southern Illinois, near Mount Vernon, Illinois. And so for me, art was not so much a discovery, it was just very much a part of who I was right from the beginning. According to my mother, I was attracted to paper and pencil before I could walk.
Yeah.
So for me, it was something that I just always loved doing, and I don't remember a time I didn't do it. So I was attracted to paper and pencil, and it's what brought me joy. You know, I didn't even desire toys that much. I just wanted to scribble all the time.
Wow.
So in first grade, my parents did notice my penmanship, and they were like, maybe there's something to this, you know, maybe this kid has a gift or some talent. And so in my early years in grade school, in our Amish parochial school, I kind of became the school artist, doing the poster and decorating and those types of things. So it was just very much who I was.
Yeah.
I grew up on the farm, and so finding drawing time was a challenge. So I would work during the day on the farm, then I would come in late at night and draw by lantern light or lamp light.
Wow.
Growing up within the community, you know, there was no electricity, no vehicles, no power of any kind. So the lighting, you know, was different than most artist studios today.
Right.
So growing up in the Amish community, I was very little exposed to art. You know, we traveled with horse and buggy, so I didn't get to town as much. So my exposure to art museums or even libraries was very minimal.
Yeah.
So I just did what I loved and just stuck to the drawing board. After 8th grade, most Amish communities just go to 8th grade in our parochial schools.
Right.
And then from thereafter, the students usually apprentice with, say, a father or an uncle or a community member, and they really start to immerse themselves within the trade, you know, of whether it's construction, whether it's just simply farming, or cabinetry or furniture making or blacksmithing. You know, in those teen years, 14, 15, and 16, we learn by hands-on.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that was the case for me, which was on the home farm. just working on the farm, taking care of the horses and the crops and the hay and those types of things. but that made it ever so much more challenging to draw.
Right.
And so even during those teen years, I loved drawing and I craved a mentor. But in the rural area in which I was, there were very few professional artists that I was connected with.
Yeah.
So it was a challenge.
Yeah.
But drawing is what brought me peace. And so I would draw late into the night.
Okay. Were your subjects, I'm assuming, from around the farm?
Mostly horses,
Yeah.
because I grew up around horses.
Right.
My
Yeah.
brother trained horses full time. So horses were my life. Horses were a huge part of our way of life, horse and buggy, riding. And so it was just a natural fit to start drawing horses. And so that's kind of what I started out with.
Yeah, and you still incorporate the horses out here in Colorado. And there is a very intense kind of a dichotomy of a situation with those horses for you. So if you want to share about that a little bit.
Yeah. I was 17 years old, still working on the home farm. And it was a brutally cold day in January of 2009. It was actually the very day, January 19th, of Barack Obama's first inauguration.
Oh.
And it was a brutally cold day in southern Illinois, and so cold that it was difficult to work outside. So my dad had a ton of paperwork to do inside, and he asked me if I would help. But he said, before we get started, please go turn out our 2-year-old to the paddock for exercise. And the last I remember is turning towards the barn to do that errand. And 20 minutes later, my dad found me laying unconscious on the frozen ground with the horse standing right beside me, and he kind of had his head draped over my body as if in remorse.
Oh.
And so he was not a dramatic horse, an evil horse, or anything of the nature. So I know he didn't intend to hurt me, but something happened.
Yeah.
And it involved the metal gate leading into the paddock. And so somehow something happened.
Yeah.
But it would be 48 hours later before I woke up in the hospital. And I was confused, and I don't even remember how long I was in the hospital, but I had a severe brain injury. And little did I realize what lay ahead. I would not be able to work for 5 years thereafter, and was
Work on the farm or anything.
correct.
Yeah.
I couldn't do anything physical. I wasn't even able to socialize or attend events, or through most of that time, I was even unable to draw because I lacked the strength to concentrate. And that was probably another significant part of that trauma, was what had came so naturally for me when it came to the art and drawing, had seemed to be taken away from me. And it had seemed that my art career had come to an end.
Yeah.
And that in itself was very devastating.
I'm sure. Were you able to process that with your folks, or did you just kind of?
Hardly. I mean, my family and loved ones around me tried to understand, but the head injury and the severe depression that followed was extremely difficult. And so it felt like I became a prisoner in my own body. You know, there was all this pain and darkness, and nobody in the whole wide world seemed to understand, even if they wanted to. And so that's really, as I was able, I would draw and try to work on my art. But so much of that time, I even lacked the strength to do so. But as I was able, I did so, and it was very, very therapeutic.
Good.
And now, even in retrospect, my parents say, had it not been for his art, you know, we're not sure he would still be here.
Yeah.
It was just very therapeutic, and I just had that strong sense that I was going to be an artist. And,
good.
and I never let go of that.
Oh, good. That kept you going. I'm just going to interject that I'm remembering now that when I met Andy, I had just recovered, and it's in no way the same magnitude, but I'd had a horrible accident where I couldn't walk for 5 months, and I'd had 3 operations, and my head was very fuzzy for a long time, and I'm a doer and not necessarily an artist, but I do art, and I'm always running around doing stuff, and that was very depressing, and so I can empathize greatly that it must have been horrible.
Yeah.
But having the art and having the determination to bring it back, I think is really special.
Yeah, even looking back, it's hard to conceive how I actually did it.
Yeah.
Because in the moment it was so difficult. And that's where other artists really, their work really spoke to me. I was fortunate enough to get my hands on an Art of the West magazine, and it had a subscription form in it, and so I subscribed to it. And so I got that magazine bi-monthly, and I would read about these other artists, and their work just really spoke to me and also helped me through those tough times.
Yeah.
And so now, having gone through that dark time, it really has brought the importance to me of, I want to try to make the world a better place, and it was only until I experienced that darkness that I understood the importance of the light. And so light is very important to me in my work, and also in my art, and metaphorically even in my life and in the walk. Life is full of light and shadow,
Yeah.
and it just hugely influenced my work. And I strive to bring hope and peace to people, like it brought me hope and peace at one point.
You say, Andy, that the drawing brings you peace, and we talked about the pencil being the kind of tool of that peace. And there will be links to Andy's website so you can see his art if you haven't seen it before, but it is black and white. So it's very obvious that the light and dark are very important, and the shades in between. I wrote about Andy after I met him a couple years ago, and I used the phrase wanting to kind of crawl into his paintings and curl up and just be cozy, because that's how they made me feel. They're definitely peaceful and simple, make you want to just go outside, find a tree to sit under or something, and enjoy the outdoors.
Yeah, and obviously aesthetically, I want to create beautiful work that if people have it in their home or desire to live with it, I want it to be beautiful, which is very important to me. However, even beyond that, I just feel very much that my mission is to bring hope and peace to the world and to people. And my ultimate goal is, if I can make somebody's day, even just a drop better, who's going through a tough time, then that's what my work is all about.
Absolutely. That's activism one person at a time, which I think is sometimes more effective than trying to do it with a group. So as you were bringing your drawing back, if I recall, there's a very well-known drawing that you did that kind of catapulted you to the next place.
The drawing that Jill is referring to here is called A Long Day. It actually landed on the cover of the magazine for which she wrote my story. It's called A Long Day, and it's a image of a blacksmith bent over shoeing a horse. And it's a kind of a darker scene. This scene took place after dark. It's kind of a not so ordinary perspective of the horse. It's more an angle from his backside, and the horse's body kind of wraps around the weary cowboy, almost as if embracing him. And so this piece I worked on for 1.5 years during my dark time, as I was able. I have, I think, approximately about 500 hours in this work. And so in looking back, I didn't realize it at the time, but in looking back, I realize now why I was drawn to the scene. I was drawn to all the darkness because I was in a very dark place. My exhaustion connected with the cowboy's posture and his own exhaustion at the end of the day. However, the horse's body seemed to be bubbling with energy, and the way his neck wraps around the cowboy, it just felt like he was embracing that exhaustion. But I feel the most important part of this drawing is the eye of the horse, which I drew an incredible amount of strength during those times. It just, without that eye, the drawing would have a totally different feel. So the eye is the soul of the work. And to this day, it's one of my most popular pieces.
Is it still?
And so many people who are not even necessarily horse people don't know why they are drawn to that piece. And it's, I had to dig really, really, really deep physically and emotionally and creatively to pull that off back at that time, because I was so weak at the time. So I would go up to my room upstairs, which my so-called studio, and I would attempt to work on it only to collapse in defeat. And I just did not have the strength.
Was it strength not only physically but mentally?
Like all of it,
the whole thing.
all of it. I was losing weight. I didn't have the strength. Doctors were confused. So the physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, all of it.
It was all challenged.
It was just wiped out. So the accident just seemed to throw my body chemistry way out of whack. And it was a challenge even for the doctors to figure out what was going on.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine the emotional piece is harder. I'm sure it sounds like that was your heart was hurt too, emotionally, that you couldn't easily do the drawing that you had done, but you persevered. This drawing is right behind Andy right now as we speak, so it's kind of neat for me to look at it. I wish you could see it at the same time, but maybe you will when I post it. But it does remind me now that you told me that extra piece of when your dad found you after the accident with the horse leaning over you like that. I don't think I'd heard that part before, and that was quite powerful for me to hear that. And that kind of reminds me also where the horse is kind of wrapped around the...
Kind of that connection and that bond. A lot of people see this eye as fearful for the horse.
Okay.
Because there's a little bit of white in the eye, which I understand.
Yeah.
However, he's very alert. He's very aware of what's going on. But he's just a very aware horse. It's not like he's looking to hurt the cowboy. That eye and that very alertness in the eye spoke to me of strength. He's there. He's not there sleeping.
No.
He's very aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I just drew so much strength from that. And it seems to support the cowboy's weariness.
And the little bit of light that's coming in through that barn is cast over the horse's head too. So that's...
And so that light very much reflects my dim ray of hope that I had at the time. It's very minimal, and if you look at the whole drawing, so much of it is dark.
It is.
But the sensitivity to the light is very important in just the subtleties and the sensitivity to the light. And one night I was tossing and turning in bed, and I was just reflecting upon my life and where I was, what I went through, where I am today. And suddenly some words came to my head. And only until I got out of bed, wrote these words down, could I sleep again.
Yeah.
And those words were, the deeper the shadows and darker the night, the brighter the sunshine and sweeter the light. And so I feel that drawing there just encompasses all of that.
No, those are things we all need to learn, really, to appreciate life in all of its difficulties and joys. And that glimmer of hope, it's amazing how a glimmer can go a long way.
Yeah, even if it's very faint and subtle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even the tiniest form of hope is better than none at all.
None. That's kind of my motto in life, I mean, we got to have it. We can't give up. I'm tearing up a little bit, but that happens when I do these interviews because we talk about intense stuff sometimes. It's good, though. It's good tears. So then what happened? When it was finished?
So from 17 to almost 23, for those 5 years, was that dark phase. However, towards the tail end of 22, almost 23, some surgeries did take place that did change my health around.
Okay.
And my strength started to slowly come back, and I was still very fiercely focused on my art. But of course at 22, I needed to, make some money somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
So I did a part-time job with a sawmill doing a simple task of just stacking light boards, as I was getting stronger. And the employer, very much understood my situation. And so he gave me that job, and it was very nice, just a couple days a week. And I remember the first time that I got a paycheck.
Oh, yeah.
I just simply couldn't believe it, because I had given up and I didn't think I would survive at certain points there. So it was an enormous amount of gratitude that certain pieces of my art also reflect. However, a long day was complete, and in the meantime, I had competed in some local shows at Cedarhurst Center for the Arts in Mount Vernon, Illinois, and I had placed 4 out of 5 years in the competition. So people were becoming aware locally about my work, and for being a farming community in Southern Illinois, I was very fortunate in the support that I received there for that area not being culturally that artistic.
Right.
But I just got this strong sense of, if this is what I was going to do for the rest of my life, I was going to have to step out, and my work was not going to bless people in the closet.
Right.
So, again, without electricity or internet back in the community that I grew up in, I had a non-Amish friend, a Mennonite, who they did have internet. And so we sat down together, and he helped me fill out an application to a show in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Mm. So upon my first attempt, A Long Day was accepted into that show.
Wow. Let me ask you real quick, because I don't know if I asked you this before. Had you traveled outside of Illinois much before that?
A little bit. I have traveled because my grandparents lived out of state.
Okay.
And family lived out of state. So it's not that I didn't travel at all, but not that much. My brother, who trains horses full time, he also loves the Western way of life. So he actually ran cows on a BLM lease over in the San Luis Valley, at the foot of the San Juans. Mm-hmm. So him and his wife, for 2 summers, ran cows in the foothills there and lived in a camper. So in October, before my accident in January, I was 17. My parents and I came out and picked up my brother and his wife.
Okay.
And so that was the first time I had seen
that's
Colorado.
What I was wondering. When was the first time?
That was the first time I had seen Colorado. And something just changed in me.
Okay.
And I totally loved Colorado, all the Western artists that I had seen in that magazine, and especially Tim Cox was a hero for me. Colorado was exactly how I had envisioned it in the paintings that he portrayed. So that was the first time I seen Colorado, and I can say, I guess, it changed my life.
Okay.
So I got accepted into the Western Spirit Art Show in Sale in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So at 23, just as I was getting stronger, I told my family that, I want to go attend this show. So I jumped on an Amtrak train in Centralia, Illinois, went north to Chicago, then from Chicago to Denver. And I attended the show there. And on opening night, I was stunned when I realized that my drawing A Long Day had won first place.
Oh, first place.
And for me, it was terrifying, because my work was only hung in local spaces in Illinois. And this piece was so very personal to me. I was just terrified. It wasn't my artwork hanging on the wall. It was myself hanging on the wall. And so when I learned that it had won that blue ribbon, I just simply could not believe it.
Yeah.
And so that was essentially kind of what launched my professional career. When I left Illinois on this particular trip, I had been through so much, and I just told my family, you know, I just need a break. I need a breath of fresh air, because, I mean, my community back home was very caring and very concerned and loving in my debilitating time. But at the same time, for 5 years, and as a teenager, it started to seep into my identity. You know, I just kind of felt like I was always the sick one, and then
Like the victim.
The victim of what had happened to me, and that's also how my community had known me.
Sure.
I hadn't been able to work for 5 years. It was just, I don't even have words. It was very difficult. And so it was really affecting my identity. And so I just told my family, I'm just not going to punch a return ticket. I'm just going to go out and to the show, and I want to go explore Colorado, because I had heard at that time that Amish people were migrating to Colorado. And so I was up in Cheyenne, Wyoming for 10 days. My Mennonite friend knew the local ranches and cowboys, so he introduced me to this one ranch that enabled me to ride with them to sort pairs, and I just tagged along and helped out. So for 10 days, I did not know where I was going to be the next night.
Oh.
And my joke is that was as close as I'll ever live to a bedroll cowboy.
Right.
Because I slept in old bunkhouses. I slept in tiny rooms. I slept in non-ideal places, but I didn't even mind, because it was just the best thing that could happen to me.
It's an adventure.
Total strangers, out with the animals and the cows and the horses, and wide open spaces, and it just felt like me and God, you know. And so it was exactly the healing that I needed. So after about 10 days, my friend there said he had some church members that were coming down to Pueblo, that if I wanted to come down here, they would give me a ride. So that's what I did.
Okay.
Came down to Pueblo, ended up in Westcliffe. And I did not even know any of the Amish people. I had met Wilbur Yoder once before, and he said, hey, if you're ever in Colorado, come check it out.
I think Wilbur is rumored to be the first one from
Yes, he
my
is.
research.
Yes, he is.
And that would have been, if I recall, 2009-ish, or when?
I think 2008.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just an aside, my husband is Mennonite and descended from Amish, and we came through Westcliffe on a little road trip with my son and saw this Yoder furniture, Amish and he was like, what are the Amish doing here? They're not supposed to be here. And we were just, confused. When did they start coming out?
Well, first time for everything, you know.
Right, yeah. Well, they've been a wonderful addition, actually. So you had met Wilbur somehow through connections through the Amish community.
Yeah. And so I came, and of course Wilbur's the person I was looking for, so I went and knocked on their door and said I was visiting. It's not like we communicated and I asked them, hey, can I come for a visit? I just showed up.
Well, because they wouldn't have had a phone, probably.
They would have, but I would not have had their contacts,
okay.
And so they offered me to stay. I stayed in their bunkhouse, and I was here for just a couple days. Then I attended their church, and I was at church as a stranger, and one gentleman approached me and said, who are you? What are you doing here? And I can't even remember what I said, but he said, I am opening up a gift shop in Westcliffe, and I'm looking for somebody to manage that. And I was like, oh, okay. And I said, well, let me think about it. And so I talked to Wilbur and Karen about it, and they said, yes, they would let me live in their bunkhouse.
Okay.
And so I only thought about it for about a day, and I told him, yes, was the perfect fit. Managing the gift shop was not that much of a workload, so it really enabled me to work on my artwork still part-time. So that first summer, my art just took off. I was able to display my work in the gift shop. I worked on my art, and I instantly knew that I wanted to come back, because my parents thought this was just a couple-week trip that ended up being from March until October. And I instantly knew I wanted to come back to this place. And so the next summer I came out and I launched full-time at Yoder's Furniture as an artist in residence.
Okay.
They provided me a space that enabled me to work on my art and put some of it on display. And so I was there for 4 years.
I might have walked by you once when I went through. My goodness, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was at Yoder's for 4 years, and then my business grew enough to where I needed to spread out a little bit. And by that time, I had some acquaintances on Main Street, and so I joined one of the real estate groups, a little space in their office in Grandma's house, and I was there for 4.5 years.
And that's where I met you.
And that's where you met me.
Yeah.
And so I've been at this new location now at 219 Main for exactly 2 years now.
Okay, yeah. I was so happy for you to get some space to really stretch out and appropriately have your art displayed. And oh my God, I love that bighorn sheep up there.
So yeah, this is the first space that I get to consider my own.
Yeah.
And I made the space exactly how I wanted it, with the colors, the toned down colors, and all the white. And so people get to see my work in a light they may have never seen before.
Yeah.
So
Appropriate light for your artwork. So when I had met you, the big thing that had happened was your work got displayed in a pretty fabulous way for the stock show in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Was that 2022?
I was in 23.
Okay, which doesn't seem quite as long ago. They projected it on the Median F Tower, which is a very historic building off of the 16th Street Mall. And the stock show is such a big event in Denver. People come from all over. So did that add to your notoriety, I suppose?
It surely did.
Right.
It really got me into Art of the West magazine, did a news feature on it. A Western Art Collector did actually a little story on it. It actually even snagged the attention of the Who's Who Foundation. I don't know where they saw it or how they found out, but they reached out to me and said, that seemed very notable to them. The local paper picked up on it. My hometown paper in Mount Vernon, Illinois picked up on it. And so Who's Who nominated me as a 2023 Exceptional Entrepreneur of the Year or something like that.
Yeah.
And just, coming from my background, from the farm to the Median F Tower is quite a contrast. So they were really enamored in that story.
Contrast. There's a lot of contrast in your life, in your
Light and
artwork
shadow.
oh yeah, my goodness. I'm sure your parents miss you terribly, but I'm sure they're very proud. And they saw all this talent in you at an early age. It just occurred to me to clarify for listeners that don't know about the Amish culture. Each community, I've learned from Andy, makes their own rules. Maybe you don't call them rules.
It's in German, Ordnung.
What, say it again?
Ordnung.
Okay.
Which basically, is a foundation of basically rules, I guess you could call it, or standards.
Standards,
standards in practicing the way of life.
Right.
So there are hundreds of communities in America, and so it's not like a main denominational standard that applies to every group. So it's what each individual group agrees on.
Yeah.
And so the group out here embraces more than the group in which I grew up with. So, for example, technology, having a website and those types of things. And even speaking here with you today,
right.
It's more technology. So our community out here embraces that. We're more mobile now than we were 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Before computers and cell phones, back when there was still party lines and things like that before my time, back when my parents were growing up in the 50s, and my grandparents that were born in 1919 and 1920, they lived off the land. They lived off the small farms. Both my parents grew up milking cows. Yeah. And so on a dairy farm, you're married to the dairy farm
Yeah.
because the cows have to be milked twice a day and by hand.
Yeah.
So it was not an option to go explore Colorado,
Right.
or it was,
Anywhere.
so things were just more limited back then.
Yeah.
But now, sadly, as the small farms are dying off more because you just can't make it with 12 cows anymore.
Okay.
And the large commercial farms are adding a pressure to the smaller farms where it's just hard to make it. And so now, unfortunately, a large portion of the Amish population, they're doing construction work.
Yeah.
Which
they're very good at, by the
which in
way.
a sense, thank you. Which in a sense, they have day jobs, so they come back home, and so they don't have cows to milk.
Yeah.
So life is just different now, and
It's
thereby
different.
we are more mobile.
Yeah.
And so that more mobility has been one of the reasons that Amish people have been migrating west. They are in Kansas, they're in South Dakota, they're in Nebraska,
A lot more
Montana, Wyoming, Colorado, so Idaho. So it's changing, and it keeps changing.
Which
And
there is a little sadness to that.
there is. Life is a difficult balance sometimes. It's hard to know what to embrace and what to leave behind.
Yeah.
It's tough sometimes.
Yeah. With my husband's, some of his family reunions, we'd go to a small Amish farm in Illinois. I can't remember the town, but it was just so beautiful. I mean, it was just so neat and tidy, and the children were so sweet and free, running barefoot, riding bareback on the horses. It was almost like a movie to me. It
Yeah.
was a special thing to see.
I I feel like I've done more miles bareback than I have in the saddle.
Oh,
as
that's
a
cool.
child,
Yeah.
I rode all over the place bareback.
Oh.
So.
Which, by the way, Andy, he was injured accidentally by his horse. Some people might have walked away with the trauma of, I can't be around a horse ever again. And that certainly wasn't the case with you. There was, if I recall, a forgiveness to the horse, and it sounded like the horse felt bad. Anyway, and the horses are still a huge part of your life, it sounds like.
Yeah, they are. For me, it bothered me for a very long time. I think for the whole time that I was ill, like, what mistake did I make to cause this accident?
Okay.
I mean, I just felt so responsible. The horse does not intentionally hurt you. It's a prey animal or species. And so it must have felt threatened at some point. And so what was my mistake that made him feel threatened? And so that bothered me for a long time, and so there's all these nuances of approaching a horse, handling a horse. I feel like I had to make a mistake in order for that to happen. Right. And so that bothered me for a long time. However, I finally came to the realization that I'm very fortunate in that I do not have to remember a horrific memory.
That's true. Yeah.
And so when I came to that realization, I just could let it go.
Yeah.
And so there was no effort of even forgiveness on my part.
Okay.
I mean, obviously I forgive the horse, but
Forgiving yourself?
Yeah, that probably more importantly. And after that, I could let it go, and it has never haunted me.
Oh, good. That's good. And really, those traumas we can experience, the rare person that can turn it around into something amazing. That's pretty special. And that's why you're a special person to me. I'm so glad I know you.
Oh, thanks.
So Andy has his own gallery here, as we said, at 3rd and Main. So this keeps him busy. He has to carve out more time to draw. We talked about protecting your time.
All my life I wanted to be an artist. I was in 6th grade, and I remember sitting at my desk in our one-room schoolhouse, and I was drawing, and it felt so right the way the pencil was laying onto the paper. I just remember telling myself, this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life. And it was more than just a statement or a decision. It was a strong sense of knowing somehow that this is what was going to
It's
happen.
like a calling.
So I've just never let go of that. And so all of my life, I wanted to be an artist, and having my own gallery was a dream and a goal. So of course I considered all the things, the money, the work, and all the things, but one thing that I had not realized was the importance of actually protecting my time at the drawing board. Because now, as my business has grown and expanded, there's so much logistically, from shipping prints to fulfilling orders to ordering prints, print production, framing, to and from shows, meeting deadlines, plus being available to the general public and the patrons who walk into my gallery on a daily basis.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I had not considered as much, because up to the point of working at Yoder's and Grandma's house, people would trickle in and I would still get a fair amount of drawing done, but I had enough support and patrons that enabled me to get by. But now, since I moved here the last 2 years, the greatest challenge of my career right now is simply the time to draw.
To actually make the art that you
Which
wanna,
is, where it all happens. So it takes a special conscious effort to carve out drawing time and protect my time to
almost
pursue
like
my passion.
full circle back at the farm.
Yeah.
At least you maybe
Yeah.
have some better light this time. Do you have a studio separate from the gallery?
I do.
That's
I draw in my space. I'm very fortunate in having people that work the gallery here part-time.
Oh, good. Oh.
A few ladies that have enjoyed it in here and that I'm extremely grateful for. They manage the gallery so I can draw.
Oh, good.
And so that is very invaluable.
If I lived closer, I'd do that. I'd volunteer.
Well, thank you. That's very kind.
Absolutely.
That would be great.
Well, maybe I'll just figure that out somehow. The drive here from Salida is so pretty. The whole way, I was grateful for that. Yeah. So you probably don't have time to do much else, but if you do have time to do something other than the gallery or drawing, what would that be?
Well, usually when I'm not drawing, I'm thinking about drawing. I'm really
artist.
I love riding. I'm very fortunate to know several of the ranchers here now, so I have access to horses anytime that I need. Sometimes I just need that fix.
Well, and you need to be out there to get your inspiration.
Yeah,
too.
for sure. And so it's just, some people have mentioned that, they try not to take their art that it, it's not who they are, it's what they do, which I understand where they're coming from. But for me, I'm finding it doesn't work that way, because my art is who I am.
Yeah.
And so the things I love revolve around my art,
Yeah.
whether it's hiking in the mountains, which I love, attending the brandings, or being around horses, helping friends and neighbors. I love all those things. And it's all connected, and it's all incorporated into the walk, and it's all incorporated into the journey.
Yeah.
And so all those things are who I am, and I just really am grateful for this town and the people in it.
Oh, good.
And it's been a huge blessing.
It just sounds like you're well loved here. People like to be around you, and
I'm very blessed.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed.
I'm happy for you that way.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you.
wonderful to see you succeed and do so well. And my hope for you is that you keep protecting your time to draw, because it's important, and ride the horses and get out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a lot of great similarities in the Amish way of life, in how I grew up, and in what the Western way of life. Mm-hmm. Although the culture is a little different. Growing up in the Midwest, there's a lot more fences.
Yes.
I grew up around horses and cows, but our cows were on an 80-acre farm.
Okay.
And so we did rotational grazing, and we worked our cows in arenas and corrals. Whereas out here, there's wide open spaces.
Yes.
But the same principles apply of taking care of the land, living off the land. You know, if you take care of the land takes care of you. And it's more of a arid climate out here. Back in the Midwest, water is not as much of a problem, you know. And so there are differences, but I really connect to this valley and the beauty here and the agriculture here and living off the land, treating the land with respect. Yeah. And it just feels so right here. It just feels so right here.
Yeah. It's just so gorgeous. It's a good place for you, for sure. Yeah. You have some shows coming up.
I will participate in the Broadmoor Art Experience. I'm a guest artist up there, and I will be participating on site, drawing from life there. And then later this fall, I'll be returning to Oklahoma City at the National Cowboy Museum. This will be my 6th time participating there.
And that's a big show.
And their Small Works, Great Wonders art show.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yeah, very busy time of year for me. This tiny town attracts a very broad audience. I have been very fortunate in the people that I've met here. I have work in 12 foreign countries now, and most of those come through visitors through my gallery.
Through Westcliffe. Mm-hmm. That is amazing that people from all over the world have found you. Yeah. Did they know that they were going to come visit you, or did they just pop in?
Most of them are by happenstance. Yeah. But now, obviously, I have friends. There's people now that come back and they look me up because we met once before. Okay. And so, Australia, Netherlands, I can't name them all offhand here, but it's kind of interesting to think that I have work across the ocean now.
Right. Yeah, I love it. It's great. Yeah. Australia has its own cowboy culture. I've heard.
It does.
I bet they love your art. Yeah. Well, I saw some ladies out there. Were they coming to sit the gallery?
They were visitors.
They wanted to visit.
They were visitors,
Are those your friends?
Acquaintances. Acquaintances.
Okay.
Yeah. It looks like they have guests that they want to bring in.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we don't want to prevent a sale here. Thank you so much for doing this with me, Andy. Yeah. It's been a joy to hang out with you again.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And thanks for supporting my art and what I do.
I love it. So if you're ever in Westcliffe, come on by and visit Andy. Maybe you'll get to meet him. It'll be a pure joy. All right, we're going to close out this episode. Thanks for listening.
And now it's back to the drawing board.
I hope so. Literally. Literally. Okie doke. Hey, thanks for listening. I appreciate each and every listener, whether you listen to an occasional episode or you have signed on for the whole thing. You are a kindred spirit who appreciates what I'm trying to do here. And FYI, I do this completely by myself. It has not been an easy learning curve, but I really wanted to do it, and I had a passion involved, and so I've learned the technology for the most part. It's kind of ongoing, but I will say if you really do like the podcast, it costs nothing to subscribe or to download and give us a nice rating. That's a great way to appreciate it. You can also go to my website, Jill Karsten's Writer /Colorado Soul Stories, where you can sign up for newsletters if you want information on future podcasts, or if you'd like to be a paid subscriber, I will be offering exclusive content, and we are working on some subscriber events with people that I have interviewed, with musicians I've interviewed. We're going to have a few parties as time goes on, so information on that will be on the website. In the meantime, thanks, and whatever you do, wherever you are in the state, go out and make Colorado a more soulful place to be. See you next time.